Hi everyone, I'm Cheryl Melnyk, Health Director at the Gambler First Nation. Sorry I couldn't join you, but apparently new buildings and old internet aren't a great combination. Many thanks for the opportunity from the Sustainable Canadian Agriculture Conference organizers to share our project with you though. So here we go, Good Life with Food Futures. A little background first. Gambler First Nation is one of the smallest First Nations in Manitoba, with a non-community population of 78 and a total membership worldwide of 551. Depending on how fast you drive, it's about 3.5 hours from Winnipeg. Good Life with Food Futures was in response to a shocking truth that became apparent during COVID. Most community members struggled with food security due to a number of factors, even though our community isn't super isolated. Our closest grocery store is about 30 kilometers away in Russell, Manitoba. We do have a small coffee shop in Binscarth that stocks the basics, but as most services are available in Russell, people normally shop there. Limiting factors included lack of access to transportation as well as limited funds. Chief Ledoux and the council had done deliveries of supplies during COVID years, but it wasn't sustainable. Chief spoke about a future where the community was thriving, and this meant all members being able to have food security. He challenged the staff of Gambler First Nation to assist the members to reach this goal. Challenge accepted. Gambler Health Centre staff run a number of health-related programming, such as ADI, Aboriginal Diabetes Initiative Program, for learning to manage diabetes, and a variety of mental wellness programs. The staff had done a soft survey using personal knowledge of the community along with visitations to different programming to provide us with some baseline information. As the slide shows, diabetes is 3 times more prevalent in First Nations persons than the general Manitoban population. If we transferred that percentage to the gambler community, we would be seeing 13 with diabetes. Our soft survey numbers put us in at 11 who had known diabetes. This does not account for the population and community who don't engage in our programming. In a small community, this is beyond concerning. The health center staff could also see a trend towards pre-diabetes within the community. Health programming showed some other gaps, such as limited cooking skills, either due to never learning or not feeling the desire to cook due to isolation or other complications, such as physical illness or other issues. Concerns were also brought forward about food choices, processed versus unprocessed, pop versus healthy drink choices. During community drop-offs, members were less likely to accept food boxes that had fish or bison, and were overwhelmed when receiving large quantities of potatoes or tomatoes. Our Child Development Day program also showed us their fridge, freezer, pantry, which were stocked with the foods the children enjoyed, but lacked some nutritional benefits. Health center staff added the healthy into the goal of food security for the community. The plan the health center team came up with was holistic, all parts interconnected. Timing was perfect as the Local Food Infrastructure Fund grant applications opened at the time. Local Food Infrastructure Fund was aimed towards food security across Canada. Chief Ledoux wanted the food security project to meet the criteria of sustainable within 5 to 10 years, environmentally responsible, aesthetically pleasing, and remember, health center being the nagging mom in the group, healthy, such as organic if possible. So the research began. Gambler sits on the edge of the valley, and wind conditions make growing anything outside a challenge. We also have a variety of wildlife. After all the research, we made the presentation with the geodome as the keystone. Though other options were viable, the dome meets the aesthetic value, and the openness to possible growth options provided the opportunity for sustainability. If you were looking for immediate return on investment, the Grocer self-contained pod costed out better than the dome. But for our purposes, the other selling point for us was the accessibility. We wanted the community to walk into the grow space and feel the connection. Our test year in 2025 showed us that the community members would stop in if they saw some action in the dome, or even if the dome doors were open. Though the LFIF application only required one portion of the food system to be discussed, I really got into it. and we didn't want to lose the holistic approach. So we submitted the whole system and received the grant. Our grant summarized into production, processing, distribution, and recollection and recycling. There is also a component within recycling that could be economic development beyond produce within the system. Production would be focused with food forests, permacultures, and the keystone of the project, the geodome with aquaponics, hydroponics, and raised garden beds. Processing would work with infrastructure already in place and additional to process vegetables in the Gambler First Nation Cultural Center and the process of being built butcher shop. Distribution would be meal planning type boxes with recipes developed by our health center staff to meet current Canadian food guidelines, and recipe book cover designed by our Child Development Day program children. Recollection recycling would bring back the vegetable waste weekly to be composted by vermiculture and or compost cones or machines. The boxes would be broken down into weed barrier for our community pathways, and the lining will be used for pest control within the food forests. The recycling of plastic was an add-on. We purchased a prototype machine from the students at University of Guelph that shreds up water bottles and then melts and extrudes into a mold. The mold they created for Gambler First Nation was a block that's about 6 inches wide and could be cut off at various lengths. Projected to have reasonable strength, the proposed use would to be build up raised garden beds within the dome and provide edging along the pathways. The manufacturing of blocks works on a piecemeal process, which would allow the community to gather and then process when supplies of plastic are sufficient. After a few contractor issues, thanks COVID, the geodome got under construction. Foundation was poured and the structure began. It took a 2-man crew about 1 solid month to get it all together. The crew we had prior commitments as well, so fit us in as they could manage. The geodome has roughly 1,300 square feet of space on ground level, and the ceiling is about 15 feet up, so there is the possibility of structuring above main floor. We constructed a 3,500-gallon heat battery, the big pond, on the north side to contain daylight heat, and the small-scale aquaponic system was set up on the south side to make sure the warm weather fish had the temperature they required. Hydroponics are placed close to the aquaponic systems. We upgraded to the cedar package for the longevity. The space, even though not fully powered, was reorganized multiple of times to make sure we could walk easily, host events, plants would receive optimum conditions, and changing out of the plants as they produced and died back. As we had no power yet, automated monitoring for the humidity and temperatures was not implemented. We used fans and opened vents and doors to get as much flow as we could. Here's the dome being delivered. That's pretty much the package, 42-foot dome in 2.5 pallets. So under lessons learned category, don't forget the drain in the floor. It is a greenhouse and we have a massive water pool along with aquaponic pools, but we overlooked this item. The floor is slightly slanted, so it will pool towards our south door, but plans are in place to do the drain as an after construction item, and of course will cost extra. Construction went well. The package came with in-depth instructions and we had to supply only minimal extra items. Make sure you order the second door. We ordered after the package, so it held up our construction a bit. Though we had planned for geothermal heating, the contractor wasn't sure he could do it and we were running short on time. In-floor heat was installed with foundation. Solar panels could have been purchased with the package, and I missed checking that box. So if we want to add that environmentally friendly option, which would have helped us out in 2025, make sure you do it. To get the solar panels up on the roof now and connected will be a challenge. What is growing in the geodome? These are some of the ideas that were presented. So raised garden beds, hydroponic towers, and aquaponic systems. Our testing year showed us some strengths and weaknesses with placement of different items, but it will also be dependent on the year and temperature controls. 2025 as a testing year consisted of limited power, limited water supply, and limited temperature control. Systems used, hydroponic towers. In 2025, we used the gravity watered grow towers. So they're the ones on the right. We have purchased the hydroponic towers, the ones on the left, and are awaiting power. The grow tower has melons in the bottom level, lettuce in the next two levels, petunias in the center, and strawberries in the top level. As you can see, the plants look healthy. The lettuce was just planted from seed, so don't judge. Watering the dome plants was okay when it was a couple of planters, but by midsummer, it became quite a task. Systems to be used, aquaponic. Though we had no power, we did a quick test of the system using a portable generator. Everything ran great. As the diagram shows, it's not a large tank, only 100 gallons, but it's a good starting point. The top picture on the left is where the set of white foam rafts will float with plant plugs. Each float is 36 plants, so it fits our community well with our members living within 34 houses. The picture on the right shows one of the rafts with plugs at the back. We couldn't resist planting even though it wasn't running. The flowers in the front were just soaking in the water, but we did grow peppers and lettuce in the still water. Systems used, raised beds and planters. Here are the raised garden beds, the grow towers, string trellis, and regular planters growing during the 2025 season. The raised beds shown in the left picture were shallow bed and did an amazing job with herbs. Continuing right, this was our tomato crops and regular planters, suffering a bit in extreme heat. During July, our heat in the dome was 51 degrees on a hot day. Continuing right, peas. The string trellis had peas. It was a pain to get the plants out after they were done producing, just FYI. The kids enjoyed walking in and helping themselves, and so did our health center staff. Farthest right, this was our grow tower, and pumpkins growing in the leftover 3-gallon pails up along the edge of the dome. The green bag on the floor was from our Earth Day planting community event. It's potato bags. Food forests have been planted along community spaces to allow everyone access. As they develop, they will become reconnection to the land spots. Varieties planted within the food forests were zone specific and as much as possible Manitoba native species. Health center staff talked with the community to make sure people didn't end up with a plant they couldn't handle close by. We wanted the community to love what was out their back door. Food forests use nature principles to provide compact but intense growing production in one area. Most trees were 2 to 3 year old to provide best possible transplant acceptance. Ongoing care, including weeding, cover layer installation, and the replacement of tree and plants, will continue until we have a good growth cycle going. After planting, our cover layer never got installed as projected. The food forest got overrun and our community service hour people provided the cleanup crew. They did an excellent job. Other food forests were cleaned up by our social assistance clients, staff, community members, and our children from the Child Development Day program. Cold winters haven't been kind to the food forests, and 2026 will see a replacement of a number of larger shade cover trees and shrubs. 2025 saw the harvest of rhubarb from some guilds along with sage and garlic. Irrigation tanks are waiting to get set up on permanent raised structures to assist in gravity watering. 2026 and on, future steps. Boxes are ready to be formed and filled, but man cannot live by lettuce alone. We are awaiting the start of our growing season. We've projected an April 1st date and have seeds started in our health center again. Traditional foods will include such items as blueberries, cranberries, sage, raspberries, ground flour from a community member, wild rice from a community member in the north, along with dried meats. Recipes are being tested and developed by health center staff to provide ease of making and dietary suggestions. After the boxes are dropped off, community members will have a week to use up the contents, and we ask that the vegetable scraps get put back in the box to be collected when the next box gets dropped off. The veggie scraps will come back to make compost, and the boxes will be broken down to use the cardboard as weed barrier and the silver foil lining as pest control in the food forest when needed. Pathways have been started between two buildings on the community at a skid steer bucket width. We are testing the weed barrier with just cardboard, cardboard and liner, and just plastic liner. The test pathway leads the user by our community healing garden and by some of our community outdoor game spaces. The pathways will join around the community healing garden and come in from the 4 directions. The walkways are to provide safe exercise zones for community members. Other parts. Gambler First Nation has also invested in a 100-head commercial cow-calf pair herd with land to support, overseen by on-site farm contractor. The bison herd is located at Gambler First Nation and is considered foundation seed stock. Future plans include sales to restaurant within Gambler First Nation development as the herd grows. Community members have been exploring agricultural options, and one couple has decided to invest in a small flock of hens for eggs. Other ideas have been goats for invasive weed control and sheep for meat wool production. Future steps. Processed where and how? With infrastructure being built as required, current processing needs are being satisfied within the kitchen space at the cultural center. No meats have been processed within the 2025 testing year. Recipes are being refined to meet community needs. Future steps. So how is this sustainable? Current staffing has found grant space for the 2026-2027 year. Community members have been expressing more interest in taking part in the project. Future developments may include garden stands at Gambler First Nation Gas Bar located in Brandon, or sales to Future Restaurant located in Gambler First Nation development. Gambler First Nation also enjoys partnerships with various operations which may provide access to other markets. I hope this was informative. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me via email. Don't ask about my phone. Miigwech, thank you for the opportunity to present our project, Good Life with Food Futures. Thanks to One Straw Society for the use of diagram on slide 7. Have a great rest of the conference.